The Stand Comedy Club podcast is brought to you by West Brewery. Hi everyone! We realised last week that we didn't actually introduce ourselves properly, so this is what we're doing right now. I'm Lottie. I work at the Stand Comedy Club in Glasgow. I wear a hat and glasses. That's who I am.
Hi, I'm Molly. I also work at the Stand Comedy Club in Glasgow. I have red hair, and that's all you should know about me.
And hi, I'm Fraser. I also work in the club in Glasgow, and I am the token boy.
This week, we're talking to the amazing Susie McCabe. But please keep listening to our podcast because we have so many fucking amazing guests coming up.
For example, Chris Thorburn,
Oh, Billy Kirkwood,
Josie Long,
Susan Riddle and Amanda Dwyer from Material Girl,
Roscoe McClelland,
and Christopher MacArthur Boyd, to name a few.
Stay tuned, brothers!
Well, look about, ooh-wee.
Right, welcome to the podcast, everyone. Susie McCabe!
Hello!
Yay!
Yay!
Wahoo!
I'm alright, how are you?
Good?
We're alright?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel
good.
good today.
We're good.
Backstage at the Glasgow Stand.
Yeah.
One
Yes.
of my, in fact, the favourite room probably.
In the world.
Yeah, I would say out of everywhere
Really?
that I've ever done comedy, the Glasgow Stand's like my place.
And you've
Yeah.
played like big
Aye.
places.
I have done, but I would say that this is probably the room out of all the stands. Certainly out of Edinburgh and Glasgow. When I started, I played this one less.
Okay.
Oh,
which
really?
was I tend to be in Edinburgh quite a lot, which was great because a lot of kind of Glasgow comedians, it never comes the other way. It's always Glasgow comedians go, an Edinburgh crowd don't get me, and they're like, well, mate, you've just spoken about a street. I'm
Yeah,
familiar
yeah,
with
yeah.
you here. That's
Yeah.
nobody cares.
We talk about this all the time. In fact, we as we've talked about before, we give like feedback, which is particularly important for the Red Raw acts, and we mention quite a bit about how this act works here, but we're not sure it'll work
Yeah.
elsewhere because it's so like parochial.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in necessarily a bad way. Like if you can storm a Glasgow audience, do it, but like you have to have that flexibility to be able to move
I
outside
wonder if,
the G postcodes.
like, in Edinburgh, and especially in the Edinburgh Stand, because it's like in the centre of town, and Edinburgh has more tourists, the crowd is just like, you
But-
can't do local material.
But that's a
because-
London gig.
Oh, exactly.
That's essentially a London gig.
same
You know,
thing.
what you do in Edinburgh and that makeup of the audience in Edinburgh is essentially a comedy store audience.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
So you have to do something that's going to appeal to people that's not
but there's a kind
location
of
based.
arrogance going, well, they need to convert to
Yeah,
me.
right,
And you're like, oh, you really don't, because you're doing 10 minutes at Red Raw.
Yeah,
And if you want progression,
yeah,
Yeah, you have to.
you
Yeah.
can't just progress in one club. There's three
Yeah.
of these clubs.
Yeah.
Right, so you need to be able to progress. If you like, the Glee doesn't have the progression spots to the same degree. Like, this is obviously 7 nights a week, this club, so there's always room for progression. There's there's your Red Raw to your Sunday to your middle at the weekends, and then so on and so forth, and then your Sunday and your Red Raw, once you're kind of more established, becomes that spot where you are using it for new material, as opposed to develop as a comic.
Yeah.
Because you've got the craft at that point, and then you're working your way through the weekend bills. You know, but you can't really, like, these days it's really difficult to talk to open spots, man, because they're all fucking showbiz that they're not. Honestly, you're just like, right, I remember sitting in here one night and it was a Red Raw, and all the I didn't know any of the acts, and I was sitting writing out some stuff, and I was like, hiya. And two women were having a conversation about how it was their first time, but they only really do student comedy, and I was like, what the fuck is student
What
comedy?
do you mean?
And they're like, yeah, like just like gigs in the West End, and I was like, you need to go to a bowling club in Wishaw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
You know,
Yeah.
that's what you need to do. That's what you need to learn. And there's
Yeah.
a kind of problem with that, like, because a lot of those gigs aren't here.
Yeah.
Like, see the Stand.
Yeah.
So many, and I see them on socials. So many think that they are entitled to play the Stand.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
big
yeah.
time.
Where actually
Yeah.
the Stand was your reward.
Yeah.
Like, you done stripes for spots. You were doing gigs. And see, when I say it in the middle of nowhere, I mean, like, outside a forest in an Indian restaurant.
Yeah.
No one's paying attention.
And no
to you.
one's, well, no, they would be paying attention, but they would be like, but that's where you learn, because the lighting would be terrible, the sound would be terrible,
Yeah.
there would be pillars in the room, so you'd no clear line of sight.
Yeah.
So when you come in here, this is actually like, you know, maybe playing for a second division football team, but then getting a game at Hampden on cup final day, you know, because it's the perfect pitch.
Yeah,
And that's-
Liam said that.
That's great. It is the perfect pitch, and you come and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But if you're using you're not learning. You're
Yeah.
not learning how to deal with a difficult
Yeah.
audience, or if sound goes wonky or anything, because you're just like, hey, here's my profile pitch. It's me with a cowboy, and you're like,
right.
like,
That is
fuck
such a big thing.
That's
actually.
really
Comedians
highlighted.
with the cowboy was
Fucking
their
I
profile
I
picture.
don't think I've ever had a picture with me and the cowboy.
That's,
As
you
a
know,
profile
You
picture.
can change
Too
that
real.
to the
Yes, today's the day. What I'll do is I'll wear it when I'm wearing this tracky top, because that'll always go down well with half of Glasgow.
It's actually weirdly one of those things about comedians doing Glasgow material. So like that's the stuff that I always think you always wonder if that'll travel. Like the kind of like a lot of acts doing stuff on sectarianism, like a huge number of acts doing bits on like the Rangers Celtic stuff, and I'm like, that works here, but I just don't.
No.
If that's your whole 10, I don't know how that's travelling outside of Glasgow.
No, and you can do like you can. I mean, obviously there are places that you can do it where people will kind of understand it, but you know it can't be the thing.
Yeah.
It can't be the thing. You know, you can allude to things as opposed to describing it. I always love it, right, when somebody will put a clip up and they'll be in London and they'll be like, right, so I'm from here, I'm from Glasgow, and this is how it is.
Explaining
And
it.
you're like, shut the fuck up. Somebody in that room is from Senegal. And you're going to, what, I'm sorry, you're going to talk to an Iraqi about sectarianism? Really? Shut the fuck up. Wait and I'll tell you how it is for me. Shut up. Do you know what I mean? And they don't, like, the arrogance, man, is like second to none. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's all right, like, if you're at a level where you're just like, right, I'm going to go into that bit of material or that, but like, I was on a call this morning because I've got a corporate in Belfast next week, and I was on that call and I was like, listen, I'm going to touch on a bit of this, I'm going to do a bit of that, because I'm in Belfast and I know exactly what I can say and get away with it in Belfast because I've got a Glasgow accent and have a bit of fun with it. But then you move on to the rest of your set.
Yeah.
You know,
for
that's,
sure.
It's
that's
not
your,
the whole thing. It's not
no,
the
it's
bit.
your like
Yeah.
3 minutes introduction to reassure them that you get them.
Yeah.
And then you move on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you feel about corporate gigs?
You know,
Because some people absolutely hate them.
Yeah.
Because it's money, but...
some people absolutely hate them, but they'll take the money and they'll do appallingly. Whereas I kind of now, you learn to do corporates and the difficulties. And again, you know, rooms that are 600, 700, 800 people, you know, they have been drinking for 2 or 3 hours time you get on. But it really depends on how you present to the organiser, how you make yourself available. Like, so this one, we were on the call today and I was like, right, I need to come in out on the same day. And they went, why don't we put you up the night before? And I was like, great. So, you know, you're getting put up, you're getting flown out the night before. You will be put up the night before and then you'll come home after the gig, right? And you go, great. And they're like, oh, could you help with the auction? And you're like, yeah, I like the fee and everything's been agreed.
Yeah.
Right? But you know what? I'm there.
Yeah. You may as well.
So you're as well just, like, just be sound.
Yeah.
How much do you vary your like material from like a room like the club here to like the Kings or to one of these corporates? Like, can you walk in and be like, right, I know like this is the same
Yeah, so last
20
week
that's going to work?
I'd done a corporate which was for like hospitality related. And there was all sorts of different types of hospitality. So I sat down and I worked out a set that was quite specific to hospitality.
And do you just sort of rummage that from your back catalogue? It's like, I know
you
what
just
I'm
go
going to...
through the toolbox.
Yeah, that's good.
You go through
Like
the
a DJ.
toolbox. Aye, you've got to. Because, you know, you can't just go up there and talk about what you want to talk about or what your club set is, because you're not in a club setting.
Yeah.
So you've got to make it relatable to them. And that's really important. you know, and a lot of comedians don't kind of consider that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, if you're of a level where you're like recognisable in the street and you can't really walk 100 yards, you can go and do whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
people,
'Cause people
are
yeah.
happy that
Yeah.
you're there and they just want to laugh. But I think, you know, it's got to be something for a corporate. You've got to consider that. You know, you're getting paid a really good wage and you have to accommodate the organiser and see what they're looking for. Like
Yeah.
if you're doing like an awards ceremony. So I've done a few awards ceremonies that have been like construction based.
Oh yeah, so I mean that's back to the old
Back to
on
the
the
old
tools.
stuff,
yeah,
so
yeah.
you can have a bit of a laugh with
that's
that.
quite
or,
good. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, if a company that I know
Yeah.
is a multinational within that kind of electrical industry and they don't win the award, I can just be like, I can't believe you've let us down.
That's good.
You know,
that's
you
good,
can have a
actually.
bit of stuff and you can talk
Yeah.
about that. So, yeah, I think that's just a really important consideration. But, I mean, a lot of comedians are just like, nah, there's the jokes, I'll take the money and I'll see
Yeah.
you later.
One of the, I guess, many qualities of you, Susie, is
Oh.
the fact that you
Bless
have, is the fact that your comedy is relatable to everyone.
Yeah.
Like you were saying earlier that your
Oh, my-
demographic is
My
is-
audience, yeah, I mean, my audience is like 18 to 80 straight gay guys, girls. Like I've had like 12 guys turn up at the Fringe and all different Fred Perrys. Right? And I was like,
You do like Pokemon, like got.
Viva, Viva la Revolution, boys. This is where it starts.
Also, I'm sure. I mean, a straight man would have said football stickers, and I've gone for Pokemon.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been really fortunate about that. But I think part of that as well is like there's a certain kind of perception of gay women in the media, right? And certainly gay comics, like you know, you've got like people like Sandy Toksvig, who you know was like on kids' TV
Yeah.
when I was a kid,
Yeah.
right? So you're like, oh my god. And she's great, very funny. And you've got, you know, like Sue Perkins, and then you've got like Susan Calman, so they're all kind of in one bit. And then the next kind of batch is like maybe like Jen Brister and Susie Ruffle and
There she is.
Zoe Lyons and yep. And all of that. And I think I'm just very different from all of them.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is probably my class.
I was going to bring that up.
Is definitely my class. I would say definitely my background in the sense that, you know, I've and I'm not saying that these people haven't, but I've very much lived a life.
Yeah, before
I get into
comedy,
this,
yeah.
you know, I worked in pubs and I was working in building sites
Aye.
and stuff like that. So I think you've just got a kind of different vibe, and you know, when you come, there's certain cities that you come from, and it's quite ingrained in you. And I think Glasgow's very much one
Yeah.
of those cities
Yeah.
where you do kind of have a wee bit of a swagger and a wee bit of is that fucking right? Aye.
Yeah.
There is an element of that, and you kind of have to have a wee bit of that in comedy, I think. And whereas I would be the gay woman that men would feel comfortable, straight white men would feel comfortable sitting in the pub, putting a coupon on a Saturday and talking about the results coming in.
Yeah.
Sure.
But their wife would like a Chinese and a bottle of wine. We would just watch Strictly, right? And then the gay guys are like, she's just a pure hoot, love her. The lesbians are just like, you're not quite feminist enough. And I'm like, oh, would you just give me fucking peace? We've all got the Maya Angelou poster, right? Fucking relax. So I think, and I've always tried to be really inclusive in my comedy, you know, like, I've never went out and just bashed guys for the sake of it.
Yeah.
But I've never hidden. I've never hidden, you know, my sexuality. I've never hidden the team I support. I've never done anything.
I don't think you
Answers
could
on a
if you
postcard.
wanted to.
But I refuse to, because see, if you don't like me for my football team, there's a whole load of other stuff in my life
yeah.
that
That's
you won't
very
like
true.
me for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just kind of, I think the guys, when they come and see me, because they're a big part of my audience, straight white men, is they feel They feel safe because
Yeah.
they're accepting,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They're accepting of all
Yeah.
sexualities and stuff like that. And they understand that there's pricks out there who are not. But they're the guys that are like, nah, it's cool, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, you know, and I think they don't feel that they're being, you know, I'm not massively educated, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not Oxbridge or
Sure.
even Glasgow University or anything like that. So I think they feel kind of, you'd have a good laugh with her in the
Yeah,
van on a
exactly.
Monday
Yeah.
morning.
Speaking
I
of
mean?
like audiences in general, do you have like is there places where the audiences are worse, or like a type of person where you're like, oh fuck's sake, if you know that they're in?
I've always just believed in this kind of your audience is your audience,
Yeah.
like, and it's who's in the door that night.
Yeah.
It's really weird. Like, again, over the years, the whole coming off the stage going, yeah, they're not really my audience,
Yeah.
guys.
It's like
Say what, they're certainly not a fringe audience. They're just a fucking mate. They're a paying customer. Shut the fuck up.
It's like, it's your responsibility, I suppose.
Yeah.
to
Also, I
make
mean,
them
like,
laugh,
and I'm not licking your ass here, but I mean, that's also maybe the difference between someone that is able to progress to the point where you're
Yeah.
doing, you know, Live at the Apollo, or you're doing the King's Theatre in Glasgow, is because you've gone, well, no, my job is to make them laugh. It's not their
Yeah.
job to laugh at me.
Yeah,
And that's the
exactly.
difference.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you accept that and you treat it as a job, I think a lot of comedians, you don't always necessarily in the early stages of it, they don't appreciate that it's a job. You got a graft to do this properly, and I think
Clubs like the Stand, and I can only speak from my own personal experience here, right? I got a gig at the Stand because I couldn't get a gig, right? And I was in a car with the late Janie, me and Janie. I was driving her to Edinburgh to do a gig. And she went, and I'd already done a gig with her round in what is now the Hug and Pint.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
So it
nice.
was like a wee Monday, Tuesday night gig.
Yeah.
And I was just starting out. And Janie's like, you're good, right? You're good. And I was like, all right, magic, thanks. And my friend Tom Urie, who's not a comedian.
people will know Tom Urie, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
Do you ever
It's-
watch the Almost Angelic? He's the keyboard player.
He's a keyboard player.
He's got more
Friday.
going for him than that, but that's what most people. He's fantastic. He's very funny.
He's an amazing
Cracking singer.
musician.
Yeah,
An
amazing.
amazing. I've known Tom since I was 18. And Tom had said, my wee pal's on, you're on that gig. Like, watch her, come down early and watch her. Aye, okay. So a couple of months later, I was taking her through to a gig in Edinburgh. She went, how are you getting on at Red Raw? And I went, I can't get in. And at this point, I was doing like opening 20s and like bowling
wow.
clubs and
Wow.
rugby
Wow.
clubs and all that kind of stuff. And I'd been going like 18 months. So Janie sent a message, an email to Tommy and Eva. And they were like, right, here's a Red Raw. And I went out to like, it was about a month later. I
Was
went
this
out-
Edinburgh? Or?
yeah. Jojo Sutherland
Yeah.
was my MC. And Jojo had already known me
Yeah.
at this point. And so I 18 months and I went out and I had to do 5 minutes, which is, you know,
Once
I do.
you've done
Haven't
20,
just done 20s,
doing
yeah.
a fast,
And
yeah.
also I do long form comedy, you know,
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
punchy stories. So I was like, right, and honestly, I had a really good gig. And then the next day, Eva phoned me and my diary just got filled up. I got my first
Really?
weekend. Yeah, I only done one Red Raw.
Wow.
But I've
Wow.
been going for 18 months.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I try and tell people that, like,
Yeah.
don't go to the Stand
So
until
that's your
you're,
first thing, yeah.
till
yeah.
you're
Yeah.
like a paid opener.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're like, I need the picture.
Yeah.
So I need being the cowboy. So I was very much like that. And I think it was Eva that had said to me, she was like, I went from that Red Raw to headliner within about 3 years,
Wow, that's
which
amazing.
was
That's,
a very,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
quick
yeah,
progression.
that's
yeah.
crazy fast.
I'd done like 2 weekends at a 10,
Yeah.
maybe 2 or 3 weekends at an open. And then it was main support, and then the main support in here, they were like, it was like, you can't, it was like a headliner, like, you know, like you can't have Raymond and Gary and, you know, Janie, God rest her, in here as main support and then put out a headliner.
Yeah,
It's-
right. They
'cause
have to
that's
be
just-
headliner.
They
yeah,
have
yeah,
to be.
Yeah.
And then I had my first weekend, so within 3 years I was headlining, which is pretty remarkable, and it's a great, you know, considering the amount of comedians that have came through this club, what an absolute honour.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But also from that, you know, I had booked my first ever Glasgow Comedy Festival show on November 2012, and it was Alan Anderson that kind of
Oh, yeah.
forced me
Yeah.
to do it, and he would promote it, and it was in Dram, so what,
Oh, yeah.
Just up the
200
road.
yards
Yeah,
along
yeah.
the road. And I had it all booked in. I was doing a show, and then it sold out. Then we put another one on. That sold out, and I was through. I get a phone call from a girl you might remember, Gillian Riley.
I know
Yeah,
her. Yeah,
Gillian. So Gillian had phoned me this afternoon. And I was still working, and she's like, Susie, can you come through to Edinburgh and support Dylan Moran tonight? Going to get
Nice.
you,
Nice.
Joe Heenan,
Yeah,
you and Joe Heenan on. And I was like, I ain't bother. So Dylan Moran was like going down to like maybe run out like half an hour, 40
right,
minutes.
okay.
Yeah.
So obviously you stay and you watch Dylan Moran,
Yeah.
right? And I was sitting watching it, and that was all fine. And Dylan Moran actually, when they came to pay us, Dylan Moran went just split mine between the other acts.
There you go.
Right?
Yes.
And
Legend.
aye, and Tommy was standing having like a wine and a chat with him backstage as the audience were filtering out. So I was just getting my stuff together. I've came in, seen the show, and Tommy's like, "Why are you not doing the festival with me?" And I was like, "'Cause you own the stand." He went, I'd have given you. And I was like, Tommy, what? I've been going 2 years. You don't get the stand for a comedy festival show 2 years in. He was like, I'd give you it.
Wow.
He went, next year, you're in the stand. And then that became a thing. And then what happened was, so I done like the first year I done it would have been 2014. I done a Wednesday night, sold it out. Second year I done it was 2015. Done a Thursday night, sold it out, and then done a late show on the Friday, sold that out, and then the following year was a Saturday night. So this was mental. I was supporting Jason Manford for the first time the weekend that this was going on sale. So I was I off the weekend? I think I was off the weekend apart from the Sunday gig. So the Friday night, the tickets went on sale at like 5 o'clock, and the wonderful Jen Lavery
Yeah.
phoned me, and she went, mate, I've had to take back the ticket allocation for the festival because the Saturday night's like going to
Just
go. So
sold.
this is like 2 hours, right? And I was like, right, and she went, right, we've got that other one penciled in. I'm going to set it up to go on sale 12 o'clock tomorrow, right? So I was like, aye, no bother, that's fine. So I'm like, oh, that's good. And the second one will take a wee while. So we were out, we were driving about, and we were going to stay in Dundee. The night before I was supporting Jason, we were just having a wee day, and that was all great. So we put the show on sale at 12 o'clock. I'm like, as your tickets live, blah, 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 for the Friday night show. So don't really look at my phone for the rest of the day, go for some food, and eventually check in and go for a swim and a sauna and fucking back to the room. We're like, oh, we have to eat. And my wife, or then girlfriend, but my now wife, was looking at her phone, and she was like, you better pick up your phone. So I pick up my phone. It's just like, people are like, I've missed it. I can't believe
Furious.
it. You going to put on a third show, right? And I was like, what is going on? So I phoned Jen, who was at home.
Yeah.
And she was like, right, let me set up my laptop and I'll phone you back. And she was like, yeah, no, it's gone. Everything's gone.
Wow.
So the stand couldn't accommodate a third show that year because you know how rammed the festival calendar
It's
is.
crazy during March.
And that's when Sarah Watson, who was part of the Glasgow International Comedy Festival, she headed that up, said, next year I'll put you in the Kings. And
that's how it
came
wow.
about. But that shows you like the build
Yeah.
to walk into that.
Yeah.
And then obviously that show sold out, but it was COVID, and then it was 2022, and then 2023 the Saturday sold out, so we put 2022, and then what year was last year? Yeah, so 2023 we done a show on the Saturday at the Kings, a show on the Friday, and then halfway through January the two shows were sold out. It became apparent, right, we'll stick a matinee on.
Nice.
Which was like 1,300 people.
That's mad. I used to work at the Kings.
It's
and
great.
I know how big it is.
Yeah, it's massive. It's
Is it scary?
Oh, is it? Aye, but also like
Like once you're doing it, it's just like,
aye, it's amazing.
yeah.
And then
And everyone's laughing. That must be mad.
that cheer, that 2022 cheer, when we went out, and the song was "Born to Be Alive" because the show was called Born Believer,
Yeah.
and we went out, and it was like really like disco lights, and really like the music ramped up and stuff, and that actual roar.
Yeah.
And I just remember going like, so you kept your tickets.
Oh, that's so
2
nice.
years, that was just like, oh, I don't know if I'll ever get to play this round.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did. And then this year there's obviously there's 3 on sale again. There's
Yeah.
a matinee, an evening, and a Friday night.
Ah.
So it's just very, very fortunate. But
Yeah.
like the club certainly filtered
Yeah.
that, you know, it
Yeah.
certainly like really harnessed,
Mhm.
took me in. You know, I remember getting made redundant, you know, just giving Eva a phone going, I've been made redundant. And she's like, let me send you an email on Monday. There's
Nice.
dates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and there is a real family feel to the
Yeah.
club that I've always just felt part of it, and I love it. I love the stand. I got on great with Tommy. I've got a lot of affection for Tommy. Oh, Eva McCabe is genuinely
Legend.
a living legend,
Yeah, I
right?
agree.
I absolutely I would do anything for her. I really would. Just a great human being.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got like Christine,
Yeah.
you know,
I love it.
like
We've got
Christine's.
all of the members of staff.
Basically, the people that book you and the people that pay you, right? But chef's kiss. But they are like such good people, you know.
Yeah.
And I think, like, obviously we've crossed over at fringes if I've been down doing Best of Scottish and
Yeah.
stuff, and I really try and not do a lot of extra gigs in Edinburgh because it's just such an incredibly busy month. But I'll do my best of the fests for
Yeah.
Assembly because
Yeah.
that's where I have my shows.
Yep.
But I will always do stuff for the staff. Always do stuff. Tommy Shepherd phones you, Eva phones you, they need something, you do it.
Yeah.
Because they've looked after you. You know, they've looked after you and they give you opportunities. And if they need you to do something or stick your name in a poster for something, you do it. It's
Yeah.
just non-negotiable. That's how business works. This is a business.
Yeah.
These people have harnessed you, looked after you, gave you a platform to grow. If they need anything from you, you go and you perform for them.
Yeah.
You do whatever you can do for them.
We're also really lucky that there's so many people across all 3 buildings or venues, that there's people behind the bar or like
Yeah.
just loads of staff that are really excited about the stand and like
Yeah.
the stand as a business, and having people come in. Like there's a big handful of acts that when we see them on the bill, we're like, fucking yes,
Yes,
you're in
aye.
for a treat.
Yeah.
This is going to be good. And it's nice to see. It's like from there's many people on every level, comics and staff that want it to do well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and have lots
Always.
of ideas and are like, let's do this, and
Yeah, I
it's-
always hear stories from comedians about, you know, they'll be on tour and go to various venues, and I guess sometimes they're not comedy venues that they're playing in,
Yeah,
but stories
sometimes.
about the staff just like not being interested at all.
Yeah.
Like they get sort of shuffled into a green room and nobody pays attention to them. I can't imagine that.
There's
like,
also like, you know, I mean, there's particular like venues where, you know, the staff kind of treat you as if they're doing you a favour.
exactly, yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you're like, right.
Yeah.
And you know, and that can be quite prevalent at the fringe as
Oh,
well.
really?
You know, yeah. Whereas I just think like whenever I'd done a solo show in here, like as a tour show, I would always stick like money behind the bar. Like I'd always give it to Scott and be like, stick that in the tip jar for the guys. Because
yeah.
if you're doing 2 Glasgow Comedy Festival shows, you can afford to tip the staff because that team of staff that night, whether it's a different one next week, you put it back in next week because those staff have worked exceptionally hard to serve your punter before and during the interval, to keep your punter happy
Yeah.
and get your show back within time, within
Yeah.
a reasonable time,
Yeah.
depending on how busy the bar is.
Yeah.
They have made your life a million times easier by just doing their job
Yeah.
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
yeah,
Say thank you.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because you know what? Those people are on a living wage.
Yeah.
You're not.
Yeah.
Be thankful.
Thank
Be
you
nice.
for saying thank
Yeah.
you.
No, because I think I'm always like, I really hate that about a lot of comedians.
yeah.
Like, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
you entitled
Yeah.
and
fucking.
there's a surprisingly like you're one of not many who would put that in. There's lots of things you
Raymond,
say.
Raymond's
I was gonna
very
say
good at tipping.
Raymond, we love it when Raymond comes in for many reasons.
Do you know why though? And I'm going to be honest here. Both me and Raymond had jobs
Right.
for a very long time.
Yeah. No, it does make a difference, I think.
Yeah.
And I think you have a perspective on the world
Yeah.
that's different from people that haven't. You know, like
Yeah.
I worked in bars,
Yeah.
Yeah.
obviously, and you understand the sacrifices that people make when they work in that industry because it's, you know, it's unsociable hours and it's you know, I mean, thankfully in here it's a living wage,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you know, it's not great, and there's a lot of places out there that don't like. You know, see if I'm in a restaurant and I get a service charge, I'll say to the person serving
Do you
me,
get that?
do you get that?
Yeah.
Ask that every
100%.
time. Ask that
And
every
then I'll
time.
also be
100%.
like, why don't you take off that service charge
And I'll give it
just
cash.
give you a note
Yeah.
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
get your taxi
Yeah.
home, some
Yeah.
chips. Because when I worked in pubs, that was a couple of your tips were a couple of pints
Yeah.
after work
Yeah.
and your chips and your taxi,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm not giving it big, oh, you know, when I was a lad, right? But I kind of grudge you having to pay tax
Yeah.
on it because I'm
No, no,
like,
totally, yeah. Yeah.
no, you deserve
Tips
that.
are always better in cash.
Always.
And
better.
also join Unite Hospitality if you work in the hospitality
Yes.
sector.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's like, I think it's a really good shift you get behind the bar in here with regards to, you know, you're not getting absolutely hammered.
Yeah.
Like you have your peaks
Yeah.
and your peaks
Yeah.
are there.
It's
and
like
then
for
it's,
20 minutes you may be getting hammered.
aye,
Yeah.
and then it's not this kind of relentless.
And then you get to watch a comedy show later.
Yeah,
It's pretty
yeah,
good. It's like-
but
There are
it's
worse
not,
jobs.
It's
Yeah.
not a kind of 4 hour, there's a
Yeah.
game of football on
Yeah,
relentless
yeah,
bar
yeah.
service. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
I also think that, I mean, I don't want to. I mean, you said yourself about like your class. I think that would you consider yourself from a working class kind of background? And I think,
Oh, aye.
and I think that is notable in that the understanding the value of money and the value of work. I think is something I recognise. And this is a weird reference, but I'm going to talk about it. When I was a kid, and I used to do my paper round. My paper round took me through some of the wealthiest. I grew up in Bearsden, right? Took me through some of the wealthiest parts of Scotland. Never mind Glasgow, but also it did take me through like
Yeah.
council housing and stuff like that. And when Christmas came round, do you know who gave me a tip?
Exactly.
Was it the doctor
Yeah,
and lawyer that
exactly.
lived in the mansion?
Yeah.
Was it hell?
Yeah.
It was
No.
always the wee woman that lived in the council house, like
Exactly.
mid-terrace. And even middle of the year, she'd come out and
Yeah.
she'd give me like she'd do it all the time. She'd
That's
give
your
me, like,
fare.
what
That's
she-
your
Yeah.
fare,
She'd,
son.
she'd give me a plastic bag full of old. This is back when you could still recycle them.
Oh,
like
to-
full of old like glass bottles. She'd be like,
Yeah.
take them, and I would get
Yeah.
like I don't know £2 or £1.50 out of
Yeah.
these glass bottles. You'd be like, you take them. I don't want them.
Yeah.
And all I had to do was take them back and get them recycled.
Yeah.
But they were always the ones that were the most generous,
100%.
the kindest with
Yeah.
thinking about me as a
Yeah.
wee. I mean, I was a wee guy. I mean, I didn't grow up in poverty. Or
See-
anything, but
Yeah.
like they were the kindest people and the most
Yeah.
generous people.
See, working in people's houses, right?
Yeah.
If you know you had to go and maybe do something for somebody or whatever, you know, like an architect or whatever, you need to go up and it was a kind of freebie for your boss to them or whatever, and you go up. They were not always the nicest people,
Really.
and they also really suspected you that you were going to steal something from them, right? And you're sitting going, mate, my tools in my van are worth
Yeah.
more than what's
Yeah.
in this fucking jewellery
Yeah.
box, right?
Yeah.
And whereas you would go to like a wee wife, you know, somebody's mom go like Joe's mom needs a shower put in because
Yeah.
they've taken the bath out or whatever. Oh my god. Oh, you couldn't eat your dinner with the same It was like 2 rolls and square sausage, a plate of biscuits, there you go. I'm nipping out, I'll be back in half an hour to make your lunch. Like just pure nanas, you know, and they were great, and that's, you know, I just think there's a real thing about that as well. And I think, do you know what's really nice? I've spent a lot of time, very fortunately, and worked very closely with them, with Kevin and Frankie, and you really see their values, and they are incredibly successful comedians, and you know, social commentary and all that, and they have done well in life, but they are incredibly kind,
Yeah.
and that's a really important quality to have.
Yeah,
And you know what? There's nothing wrong with compassion.
No.
Yeah.
I was at a retirement do. It was a kind of surprise for an old teacher, and they were there under the guise of a quiz, right? Because she loves a quiz. But the quiz was a fundraiser to send Christmas dinners and the holidays food home with hundreds of pupils. And if they need a wee jacket, and if they need a pair of trainers,
Yeah.
there's a fund there. They didn't have to do that when
Yeah.
I went to school. And I went to school at the end of Thatcherism. I went to secondary school in 1991, right? And then So then it was all John Major, and then like Tony Blair had only been in like 3 weeks when I left school. So from a perspective, you go, we are now in a worse state than we were when I was at school, which was the tail end of Thatcherism.
Yeah.
And you're
wild.
going that, and then, you know, like John Major had his own thing going on, but you go, and this is where we're at.
I just on the way here, I walked past a poster that was like 3 in 10 kids in Glasgow live in poverty.
Yeah, and do you know what? Their parents can be working.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
mean to say
Yeah,
that they
yeah,
came
yeah.
from some kind of abuse background or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, like drugs and alcohol problems. It's not. It's just, you know,
Just-
that their parents are on low incomes,
Yeah.
and that's how they're suffering. And you go, fuck! It's
It's
2024.
crazy. And we're one of the richest countries in the world. Like,
It's what's wild is how the idea of a food bank is no longer shocking.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it didn't exist 10 years ago.
Yeah,
or maybe
yeah,
they did, but you didn't
Yeah.
know
Not
they
as
did.
many.
Whereas
Yeah.
now,
Not
but
as
now
many.
they're
There
like,
was like 2,000 of
Yeah,
them.
sure.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, of course
And
they
now
existed,
there's
but
like
in terms of like,
45,000
Yeah,
of
yeah,
and
them.
also to a weird point, I mean, I'm not going to word this properly, but there's like almost like a celebration of the food bank as if it shows the
Benevolence.
the
Yes.
kindness, the it's like, but hang on, they shouldn't exist in the
Yes,
first
exactly.
fucking place.
Yes,
Like, it's good to be
exactly.
proud of us being kind and generous, but why the hell are we doing this?
Yeah.
Like, we should be appalled that we
Yeah.
have
Isn't
these.
it great that we've got a coal fire? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, but we have to put a child up to clean it.
Yeah.
It's so Dickensian,
Yeah.
Wild.
and it's ridiculous. And the fact that that is now being deemed acceptable because of the various governments that we've had,
Yeah.
and then on top of that, you've got refugees and asylum seekers being vilified,
Yeah.
as if they're breaking the country. And
Yeah.
you go, it's not them, it's breaking the country. It's
Yeah.
fucking them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think it's really important to have the like group morale, maybe is the wrong word, but like the giving of just like the nation. I like that, but I also think that it is a shame that
It
so
exists.
many things happen because we need to raise money where the people that we're raising money for, or there's like benefits or food banks or anything, it's like this shouldn't be happening. Like the government should be providing this,
Yeah.
and or like you go to Tesco's or something, and then
Fucking charity thing
and then
on
the
Tesco.
thing at the end where you donate the food,
Yeah.
where these people, these
Oh,
like
like that.
conglomerates are making so much
Yeah.
money that they could very easily be donating like food to people in need without
the
making a
customers
loss.
doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, I'll be. You know, Henning Venn.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, Henning Venn has one of the best jokes I've ever heard. Right, and he says, "We don't do charity in Germany." Right, which we all go, "Yeah, of course you don't, because you're German." And then he turns it around and he goes, "Because we pay taxation."
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly.
And I genuinely like see the fact that there's NHS charities.
There
You're
should
like-
be any
Yeah.
charities for anything.
Do you know what I
charities
mean?
shouldn't exist.
Like it's just not, yeah. Like, and it's now at the point where we're all that. And I think as a comedian, you need to be very mindful of that as well.
Yeah.
Like you need to be like I remember doing a gig one night. It was like a work in progress gig, and I'd say to the guy, "What's it you do for a living, mate?" And he was like, "I work with junkies." Right? And I was appalled.
Yeah.
I went, I think you'll find they're drug addicts.
Yeah.
And if we maybe start to call them drug addicts and teach and see it as a health issue
Yeah.
and an addiction issue, which all comes under kind of, medicine,
Yeah.
as opposed to this kind of criminalisation, we'll then maybe be able to fix it a bit better.
And like, how's
Yeah.
he treating them if that's how he's talking to them?
Exactly.
I knew someone who worked for a job centre, and she would go on about how like benefit scroungers and stuff. She's the one making decisions on like if they get benefits.
Yeah.
I don't want to skew the entire purpose of this whole podcast, but I mean, I've got very strong feelings on all this. It's also like
Yeah.
people that are drug addicts, that is not what is wrong.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
That is a
No.
symptom of
Yeah.
something else that
Yeah,
is
yeah,
wrong.
Of the
yeah.
sociological
There's
problems
a
in
lot
your
more going on
society.
there.
Yeah.
There's a
But-
lot more going
But
on there.
also as well, I think, and this is the bit that annoys me about the comedy, right, is that you'll come in and people will be like, "I'm so tired.
Yeah.
I've been travelling." And I honestly, I look at them and I'm like that. "Oh, right." And they're like, yeah, really, yeah. And honestly, it fucking riles me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Like the max that they're working in a night is like 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
25 maybe.
Talking shit.
Yeah, having a laugh
Having
with
a
a
laugh.
pint.
Free pint after or whatever. Like.
And if it goes badly, the worst that happens is nobody laughs.
Yeah.
That's the worst that can
Yeah.
That's the
happen.
worst.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean that kind of annoys me a bit. You
Yeah,
know, that
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of the lack of not. I don't mean gratitude in that kind of karma way, but that kind of, you know, gratitude for how for if you can pay your bills doing this job, you're doing all right.
And you have to be
Yeah.
aware of that because, like, the people you're then going out to speak to,
Aye.
that whatever position they're in, you know, if you're
Yeah,
taking it for granted,
Yeah.
they're
I
not
do.
gonna-
I also just laugh at these kind of guys that go out and they're just like, "Hi." Wait there, and I'll give you some high status humour, and you're like,
God.
"Oh, fucking hell, man! Here we go. Wait until I've got a 30-year-old or a 28-year-old lecturing me about the difficulties they're up against.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah.
tell me, as a white heterosexual man,
yeah,
how difficult life actually is for you.
yeah.
Get the fuck.
Yeah.
I also think in the particularly in the fringe, as someone we work very long hours a lot of time,
Oh.
and work really hard, and then there's people that come in on your hour 12 of 16, and they're like, "Oh God, I don't even think I can do it," and then I'm there literally looking through them like I'm on the bones of my arse here. Like, what I've not eaten since yesterday, and like the only thing that's getting me through is nicotine and caffeine and the promise of a pint in 2 hours time.
And do you know what's not getting me through? Your fucking chat on
Yeah.
that stage.
Yeah, and then I get to sit and hear them say the same hour that I've heard for 2.5
Like,
weeks.
That's another thing. So see during the fringe, like I find out what my techs, what their favourite juice is and what their favourite chocolate is,
Very
right?
good.
Or if they don't like chocolate, it's like Haribo or
Yeah, yeah.
crisps or whatever,
Doing
right?
God's work here, Susie.
Eh?
Just doing God's work.
This is why you're my favourite comedian.
But you like you take it into them, you know.
Yeah.
You know, would you? Do you know? Do you want? I love a Red Bull. There's a Red Bull.
Yeah.
Like if you meet your flyer,
Uh-huh.
go and take them for a cup
Yeah.
of coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give them a fucking seat and a cup of coffee. They're doing a job so you don't have to.
Yeah.
You know, you're working maybe like an hour, maybe 2 other gigs where you're doing like 10s, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone's just doing short spots. Or you're working another hour hosting, which is really easy because you've got 5 acts doing short spots.
Yeah.
So you're on and off. So why not look after people?
Yeah,
Why not just
Yeah.
be nice?
but it's also
Why not just be nice?
Why
Yeah.
not just be nice? That's
It's like a give and take. It's like the nicer you are, the
Yeah,
nicer,
the nicer you'll get your
people.
Yeah,
people be
people
nice.
are-
just make life easy for people. A lot of these people are away from home. They've come up to Edinburgh to earn some money for that month, and you know they're staying in student accommodation, and they're young and all that, and it's a big
Yeah.
adventure, and that's great. Like, but it, you know, it's a long month, and especially, you know, when you're a bit younger, you will go out and hit it, and you will go on the lash, and then you've kind of got the mental health stuff and all that. So just knowing that you've got somebody that's all right coming in.
There's absolutely nothing worse than working. I mean, this is festival specific because when you've got so many people in, I'm not going to name names because we'll have to bleep it out. But I've done festivals where I sit with a pit in my stomach knowing who's coming in.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
oh God. And you just have to get through that
Yeah.
hour and a half and then they go away. But the worst thing is it's going to keep happening
Yeah,
again
for
for
every
the next
day.
25 days, baby.
Yeah.
And it's just, but that spreads like wildfire amongst everyone to the point where
Yeah.
everyone's just like ill at the thought of certain people coming into the building. Like, I just can't
Yeah.
today.
Because it's anxiety.
It's everything.
Yeah.
Just
Because
can-
they've been out and had some really good times.
Yeah.
And they've done some nice stuff.
Yeah.
And they've had some really good drinks. And then they're sitting with their head in their hands going, why have I not been reviewed yet?
Oh my
Yeah.
Why have I got a
Yeah.
3-star review?
Yeah, yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like, it's a 3-star review for
A
fucking
3-star
whoever,
show.
mate. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mate, I don't
Broadway,
know. Maybe
baby.
it's because you're rattling every night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Stand Comedy Club podcast is brought to you by West Brewery. But my favourite juice is probably
What is your favourite juice?
my oofed.
Mine's,
Iron Brew-
mine's currently
mine's
Iron Brew 1901.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Oh,
class.
I
Thinking
like-
about getting it for behind the bar.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, dude.
We
that's
would
class.
die. Oh no, we wouldn't be able to have it.
I've got a
Why?
case
Of course
of
we could
their
have it.
glass bottles at home.
It's so good.
It's
But I
good.
mean, we wouldn't just be able to drink it for free, is what I'm saying.
Um,
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
Wow.
and my favorite. I'm also my chocolate bar of choice is currently also your favorite, the Marvelous Creations Dairy Milk with the jelly.
Can
which
you
got-
not have
which has
your
got the
own
popping candy in
personality?
it.
I do love that.
Hey, what's your face?
I do love that.
Do you know what? Do you want some of my personality as well? It's cracking. You
I
know.
took that,
You're
I
gonna
took
love it.
that into the podcast the other day, actually. I took that in, it was amazing.
How's that going? Are you enjoying doing
great.
that?
We've
I
not
love it.
mentioned cum once.
Yeah.
Christopher,
I love
take note. Yeah, I love it. I love doing it. I love hanging out with the guys, and it's a really good laugh, and it's just really good fun. And they're just, you know, like I've got such affection for the two of them, and yeah, they're just really good people. And I think when you just get to work with people that you enjoy working with, it just genuinely makes your life
Yeah.
easier.
What's also
doesn't it?
amazing about that particular podcast, and there's not a weak link, and I'm not
Nah,
pissing an arse
100%.
here.
Yeah.
100%.
You're all fucking
Yeah.
top class.
And also,
Yeah.
I think it's like when you listen to it, I've listened to it a lot, and
Same.
I think you can tell it's good because you're all getting on. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
That's
It's
why
not
you can
forced at
hear
all,
that
yeah.
it's
We
like,
always
just
wanted
fun.
it to be like we were just sitting in the pub, so
Yeah.
that's why
Yeah,
nothing's ever planned.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
never a topic that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Or, like, we've got a group chat and see if one of us is like, wait till I tell you what happened. We're like, no! Save it for the pod! Do not!
Yeah.
No! So, yeah, no, I mean, they're very talented guys. We're both, you know, me and Christopher are very fortunate that Frankie wanted to do a podcast
Yeah.
with the two of us.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, we just have a really lovely time, and we have really lovely lunches, and I
the
just...
Nippon Kitchen.
Yeah.
The Nippon Kitchen. Yeah. And I just, like, you know, I love doing it because it's something different, but it also opens you up to, like, a different audience.
Yeah.
Like, I've got, like, loads of young guys that come
Yeah,
who
yeah.
really like Frankie, but they've heard me in the
That's
podcast.
good,
yeah.
You know, so there's a
Yeah.
real kind of crossover there. And you know, I was actually out with my mate the other night, and she was saying how she was talking to another friend, and she was like, I really want to listen to Susie's podcast, but I've never really liked Frankie Boyle's humour. And my mate went, well, neither have I. She went, but you listen to that podcast and you realise that that's actually a character, because
Yeah.
he's quite
Yeah.
a gentle, intelligent, well-informed man, and he's funny.
Yeah.
And like me and Christopher do kind of slag him a wee
Yeah,
bit.
yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
That's
We're like
what- I
that.
think that's what's so good about it. It's like either it's like two of you are always slagging the other one.
Slagging
off.
the other
Like,
one.
it's
Oh, I mean, there are
always like-
times when Christopher starts chatting and me and Frankie just start looking at each other and fucking blink 3 times.
Yeah.
Honestly, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like, it was put out the other day, the rant that he'd done about the adjectives on menus.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
It
Well,
was
I listened to that. Yeah.
very, very funny.
What was that? I don't.
So, like,
He
you
does
know,
it, yeah.
if you go into a restaurant and it's like one chicken dish, Frankie will say, like, can I have the chicken?
Yeah.
Right? But see if it's like
The
roast
marvellous
chicken,
roast-
aye, or see if it's like
Succulent.
chips, he'll say
Succulent, yeah.
chips, right?
Yeah.
They'll go, is that the chunky chip? And Frankie's like, I'm not fucking saying chunky.
Yeah.
So he's like, it's the chips. And it's like, is it the chunky chip? And he's like, yeah, just the chips. And then Christopher was like, not a shoestring fry. And I was like, oh, no, man.
It's when Frankie said that by joining in, you're basically part of their PR machine.
Aye.
It's
Aye.
like, and he refuses to do that. It's like,
I don't
Aye.
know why I don't remember that.
It's so funny.
I love Chris's. He doesn't access the mind of a paedophile or something. He's like, I find it difficult to access the mind of a paedophile, so I don't think I can comment on that.
What about when Christopher suggested that we solve the Peter Tobin murders, which were solved by Peter Tobin
I went to
because he confessed to the murders.
oh my god! I went to listen to fan of the pod, listen to it, and first time speaker, and my boyfriend's local. We went in. He recently moved, so we went to the local pub, and went in. First things first is a big Celtic banner, so we were like, cool.
Fine.
Thank
See
God.
with your colour of hair,
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
get a choice.
And my English accent is
That's
like
fine.
I'll just be. "Whoop,"
It's fine. It's fine. Listen, there was fans used to take England flags to Celtic Park last season for Joe Hart. This a very different time.
I got my Welsh necklace on.
Yeah, you're
very
fine.
prominent when I have to speak to people. But yeah, at Celtic pub, so we were like, thank God, because he would have had to have moved if it wasn't.
I hear you.
And
Listen, fucking women come and go, jobs come and go, fucking life comes and goes, but your team never changes.
but we went in, and then on the wall is like newspaper, but it's like fake newspaper articles.
Right.
And I sit down, and I'd been telling him about the like podcasts I listen to and stuff, and we'd been speaking all day about that kind of thing. And then I look up and I lock eyes with Bible John written everywhere. It was like Bible John.
Now we're talking.
I was like, you're fucking
Now we're fucking
joking
talking.
me.
Serious shit.
Yeah. And it was there was this.
That's not very appropriate for
No,
a pub.
but it was like this. It was Bible John, and then it was next to it was the news article where the guy was it the Glasgow airport where he kicked the terrorist in the nuts so hard that he broke his foot or something. I was like, I'm home. Because also the guy, there was this DJ who was, I would say, about 75 years old, playing bits and pieces so loud, and it was a cash-only bar, and the women...
This is like your place. This is
fucking
like,
amazing.
This is like Susie's
This
head.
is where we should have the guillotine night out.
I don't want to I'll tell you afterwards, I don't want to dox my
Right,
but
I'll bring it on the pod, but I'll be like, lads, I found the night out.
yeah, but the best thing was cash-only bar, it's right next to an Indian. So you go in there and come in, and then the lassie that was serving
Susie's going
us,
to pass out.
I'm going to buy a fucking flat.
the lassie that was serving us was eating wotsits as she was pouring the pint, and I was like, I actually respect you so much. It's class, honestly.
This is the place. This should be the guillotine pub.
yeah. You
This is
please, can you
fucking
host your
amazing.
Christmas night out?
We should
can I
host our
come?
Christmas night out there. That is amazing chat. Do you know, like, there's been nights that I've left here and I've went over to the Doublet to meet a mate or whatever that's been in, and I walk into the Doublet and it's the full stand.
Yeah,
It's
it's
in the
everybody,
Doublet.
everybody just goes straight there.
And I'm like, why are we not doing a late show?
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, definitely, like, you know, and also it's like sales and stuff, innit? It's like, you know, get more people in and more people through the door.
Yeah.
It's also that type of thing that, see if you've went out, let's say you're in one of the local pubs and it's jumping and you're like, fuck's sake, and it's like, do I never out to stand, watch a show, because I can't be arsed with this anymore.
Yeah.
Aye, come on then. You know what I mean? It's like Saturday night madness in the boozer, and you can actually come somewhere where it's just nice.
Yeah, that's true. That's
And
true.
sit and you can go for dinner at 8 o'clock if you're in a date, and then come in here
Yeah.
and see a late show.
Yeah.
I am very much all for that.
Yeah.
I just
People,
think
it's a big date venue, I think.
Yeah, it's
Come
a
on
big
dates
date.
a lot.
it's
Get a
like
lot of dates.
great place
It's
for
so
a
funny
date.
how often people come on, and it's like their first date,
Their
and they sit
first
in the
date.
front row.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
that's
crazy.
why. But there's also so many people that come in, stand by the bar, and they're
Oh,
Kissing.
kissing,
Oh, gosh.
No
kissing
time
at
for
the
get
bar.
a grip. And if I'm ever taken, and there's people that I can see that are just like
Necking.
can't get off each other for a piss, I go and tell the host to be like, they're kissing
bet-
so much.
I bet Bruce Devlin loves that. He's like, right, fucking ripping them apart, man. No, I think it would be, like, for me, it would kind of make sense that a Glasgow show would be, like, you could do that, do you know what I mean? The early show, also as well, like, too many people go to football in this city.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, so there's always one
Yeah.
team or the other. It's not always 3 o'clock on a Saturday, but, you know, it can take up a full day, whereas
Yeah.
if you do, like, an 8 o'clock and a 10 o'clock,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? An hour and a half hour turnaround.
Means you'll get the Celtic fans and the Partick Thistle fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, and I just think it's such a good place as well to come. Like, I always send people to
Yeah.
a club for a date, and
Yeah.
I'm like, because one, you see what they laugh at,
That's it,
Oh,
yeah.
That's
that's
actually
such
very
a
true.
good
Quite
idea.
essential.
right?
Yeah.
And
Well
they
observed.
see what you can laugh at.
Yeah.
You can talk because there's intervals.
Yeah.
And you can talk before it, and after it, you can then finish off your evening with a drink, and you could start your evening with a meal.
It's perfect, really.
This is why I'm in marriage number 2. So yeah, I mean, it's an ideal place. I always think a comedy club's an ideal place for a date because you're not forced to talk to each
Yeah,
other.
you've got breaks.
Yeah.
You've got breaks
Off
to
from
talk.
talking.
Because you do have to sit and watch the show and shit.
Yeah.
So,
So if it gets a bit awkward, you're like, oh well, the show's
Aye. and then you have something else to
talk
talk
about.
about.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then I've seen them before or
Yeah.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
but it's not as loud as a concert or something.
Yes,
Do you know what I mean?
yes.
So I think, kids, get off Tinder, get in a comedy club.
Sit in the front row.
And if it all works out, I better be at the top table at your wedding.
She knows the booker at St. Luke's. She'll sort you out.
Yeah.
She gets a good deal.
Oh, St. Luke's is a great wedding venue. Oh, and here's another thing. I am all for cameras and comedy clubs, right? As somebody who often has to go back and dissect and look, especially when you're building up shows and stuff, right? If you are a paid act and you're down recording your sets, remember, you're a paid act to play the room, know the camera.
Yeah.
So fucking dry your eyes and play the live experience.
Yeah.
And the clip will look after itself. And see if you don't
Exactly,
get
I
one.
agree.
Tough fucking titty, because you're getting paid. There you are.
So
That's
far, we've been ending with a random question
Oh, yeah.
from,
that's true, we
from
have.
my brain.
Hit me.
I've got 2. Do you like the Muppets?
I do.
So
nice.
if you were to remake a film
Uh-huh.
that's already been, obviously remake, you know what that means. If you were to remake a film but make a Muppet version,
Oh.
what film would you want to be Muppets, and who would you have as the only
Human.
human?
Right. I think I would make Goodfellas.
Oh,
Great
That
answer.
is a good
Muppets,
one. That is
right?
good.
So Miss Piggy would be Karen. Wouldn't she? Kermit would be Ray Liotta.
Really hot, yeah.
Wow.
Right. The chef
Would
would
be
I'm
right.
imagining them in like costumes.
the chef would probably be Polly because he's
Yeah.
the chef, isn't he? The
Yeah.
front
Yeah.
of the restaurant. I think Animal would be Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Right.
is actually working out quite well.
I would watch
You're
this.
doing
It kind of really makes
amazing.
sense.
I think Animal
Disney
would
are
be Joe
struggling to know
Pesci.
what to do with the Muppets, and I think we've found the solution. I think we need to put you in charge of the Muppets at Disney.
Billy Bats, the guy who gets murdered in the suitcase.
Spoiler.
Spoilers.
If you've not seen it, you should have a word with yourself.
That's your advice number 4.
Billy Bats would be Fozzie Bear.
Oh my god.
That's a bit
I need
sad.
to make
It's a bit
this.
sad because I love Fozzie.
Yeah. Waka waka.
Do you know the human I would
Whack a
have in
whack.
it? Is a human that's already in it.
Who would you keep?
The mum, Joe Pesci's mum in the kitchen,
Yeah.
So-
who is actually Martin Scorsese's mum.
In real life.
That's the only human
That's-
in the whole film.
Wow.
Love
But
that.
also, can you just imagine Animal going to Kermit? Fanny how? What the fuck, Fanny how? Fuck's sake! That would be amazing.
You think me funny?
I,
Me funny how?
Fozzie Bear, Fozzie Bear saying to Animal, you used to shine my shoes. Man, what a shoe shiner! What a shoe shiner! Fucking stop.
I genuinely
You
that
whack a
was
whack.
That's
perfect.
really good.
I would also there was no editing in that. That was as
Straight.
quickly as you
Yeah,
said it.
that
That
you
was
came
so
up with that so
sick.
fast. It's like you thought about it before.
I can't wait for CMB to come on. I'm going to ask him the same question. That's so exciting.
You're black, so there's a Japanese cartoon. And I'd make them all wrestlers.
Come, the movie.
Come the movie.
Honestly, man, that
I
boy.
would do Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Aye. Bear in mind, I
Okay, I
worked in a
wouldn't.
gay bar for years, so Rocky Horror's fucking done for me.
Over it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm 44, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that was like, oh, let's do a Rocky night. Oh, I'm
Okay.
like, dude.
Sorry, Susie.
No.
All right.
no funny.
Well, just know that the question came from my brain,
I love
and I
your
was.
brain.
Thank you.
It's good.
Thanks.
I need to go and find out where this pub is.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Sean.
Always thank you to Sean.
Bye, everyone.
And
Bye-bye.
thank you, Susie.
Thanks,
Thank
Susie.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
Fraser.
you.
Thanks, Lottie.
Thanks, Molly.
Thanks, Molly.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Okay, done.
The Stand Comedy Club podcast is brought to you by West Brewery.